Oh, we're going live, by the way. I think he's getting a little jealous of us topping each other. He's trying to get in on this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I don't
John
know.
Harris is a fire breather.
Between the three of us, I think I'm the biggest squish by far. I don't even think it's close.
I think so, and that's probably just our white privilege.
That's true. That's so true. What do you got there, Yingling?
Yeah, Yingling. I just discovered this a few months ago, and this is a red or an amber.
Ah, yeah.
I'm a big fan of the reds and ambers.
Yeah, me too, actually. And I never really purchased them ever. I don't know why. Like I like them every time I have them. I never buy them.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing. We used to do in college. They used to do yings and wings, and they'd have like 10-cent wings or 25 cents. I can't remember, but it was a good price on wings. And Yinglings were like $1. It was like a really like hole in the wall kind of place. It was awesome.
Yeah, dude, I remember going to those all the time, and now I cannot eat wings ever again because of that. Like, give me 50 wings. It was terrible.
That's funny.
Hey, Mark from Montana.
Yes.
Duana? Sorry if I say that wrong. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. From Dallas. Edward, hello, guys. Joshua, welcome. Welcome to Reformgelical, where Reformed and Evangelicals meet. My name is Matt Williams, co-hosted by the great A.D. Robles. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You haven't disappeared from the social media sites yet?
Not yet, but it could be any time. And I'm the kind of guy that's not going to announce it.
Yeah.
I'll just be gone. I'll never say another word.
And you'll make so much news because they're going to speculate, was he kicked off or did he leave? What happened? There's going to be theories. There's going to be an Aranon site that's posted. AD is going to start sending encrypted riddles.
This is how I do it, man. I used to do this when I was in college as well. When I'd go to parties, I'd just bounce. I wouldn't say anything. I just leave.
Oh, you have to.
I don't want to get caught up in a conversation, anything. I'm just gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did that too. You wanted to stay late enough, but you didn't want to go too late.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely right. For those of you who are watching on the live stream, we live stream Thursday, 7:30 p.m. You can comment wherever you watch, YouTube, Facebook. Right. I don't even know if we're on Twitter anymore because I thought Periscope got taken down. I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Who cares? Place is a hellhole.
Yeah, dude, it's crickets over there right now, too. It's like I actually see your tweets now, AD. No one else is.
I know, it's amazing. I'm the only one tweeting.
You know what's funny is I get more followers in the last week than I had ever before because there's no one left to follow. Yeah, of course. It's not my quality content. It's just there's no competition.
There's no competition. They're killing the competition. Well, so actually that's interesting that you mentioned that because they're getting rid of all like the QAnon stuff. And so like you might be like the closest thing that's not actually a QAnon. So people are like jonesing for like someone to talk like you do, but
get
not
their fix.
Right, but they can't kick you out because you're not actually QAnon.
Yeah, everyone social media listening, I am not QAnon. Still don't even know where to get the 4chan from. Or whatever.
I honestly don't either. I've actually looked into it only for a few minutes at a time. I don't actually put time into that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Man, I have social media fatigue. I think I I tried to download all the different social media sites, Telegram, MeWe, Postmark, or whatever it's called.
I haven't even heard of that.
I know it's not called Postmark. It's called Telegram. And then there was another one. I forgot.
Signal. Yeah, I think we connected on Signal, right?
Yeah, we have Signal.
Yeah.
But no, if you're asking if we were going to connect, I only talked to a few people on Signal.
We're not on there.
Yeah, we're not on there, especially the government if you're listening. But it's like I don't know what to do. I was going to go the other direction and cut down on my social media sites, and now I have like 6 because I was trying to find where the president was going to pop up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I haven't done anything. I've had a Gab account for years, and I've never used it, but I'm still there, and I'm using Signal just as a replacement for Facebook Messenger. But the thing is, like, I got to reach a critical mass of connections before I get rid of Facebook completely, because I still value Facebook for connecting and communicating. But once I have reached critical mass on Signal or something else, I'm gonna just gone. Pull the plug.
Yeah, man, that's got to be like a refreshing feeling.
Yeah,
that's got to feel good.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's going to be a great benefit to a great many people, including myself.
Yeah, I think so too. You need to get on Gab, Matt. Josh says, I am on Gab. The problem is I use social media on my phone. I don't really use it on my computer. And so when you have an app, it makes it hard. So
Yeah.
and I got to learn like six other thingamajigs. So what's in the news today? Well, something that just broke. Finally, Trump's going to declassify something. He's declassifying the Obamagate, Christopher Steele, the spying on him thing.
Sure.
You know, it's been disappointing. I've been disappointed in the president. He kind of gave up, I think. Do you think he gave up? I feel like he gave up.
Yeah, I definitely feel like he's given up to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, again, I think I said this early on. He had to know that they were going to do some shady stuff, and so he had to counter it somehow. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, he failed. Now, could anyone have won? I don't know, but he didn't. Right. And I think that very clearly. I put out a cryptic tweet, which I don't usually do, but this whole idea of like keeping your enemies closer, it's a terrible idea. And he had all kinds of people in his close proximity to him that were just clearly not going to come through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so that's on him. I mean, you got to put that on him.
Yeah, you definitely do, for sure. Yeah. And I would even add some of his family too. I hear a lot about Jared Kushner, like pushing back on some of his instinct ideas and kind of try to temper him. I hear he's the one blocking Trump from going on Gab. Give him credit for the deals in the Middle East, but he seems like he's a liberal and just trying to temper down his father-in-law. Like, all right, let's not go crazy.
Sure. But, yeah. So, I mean, listen, I'm happy I voted for him. But at the end of the day, I didn't get it done. I mean, and it could be cheating or not. You still got to get it done. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you play the Patriots, they're going to cheat, but you still got to win.
Right.
You got to figure out a way. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry to all you Patriots fans.
Did the football season end? I haven't even been paying attention to it.
They're in the playoffs.
They are in the playoffs? Oh, okay.
Who cares?
The Jets in? No one cares. Yeah.
No.
Does the NFL have the fake cutouts? Or is that just baseball?
Oh, I think it depends on the stadium. It's like some cities are doing that and some aren't. Mm-hmm. It's so stupid. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. Okay, but I think what's interesting about this declassification that he's finally going to be doing is it's going to be showing how Obama and Joe Biden was involved in this. And so for the next day or two, or depending on if he releases it on Friday or Monday, it's going to be everything that's in the news, or maybe it won't be actually, come to think of it. But it'll be on Twitter until people get banned.
Right.
And then if they go through with this impeachment, which I don't even know if they can because he won't be president anymore, he's going to have his time to like lay out a case of why the election was stolen. This isn't really turning out to be a good start for Biden, I don't think.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. I mean... he's corrupt. We all know it. We knew it before. It didn't matter.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're so right. It's so crazy to think. You keep hearing about all these Chinese people infiltrating our government and stuff. Like just before he came on here, apparently there was someone in NASA that didn't disclose that he was part of the Chinese network of sort. Joe Biden's chief of personnel was part of an entity the FBI flagged for intelligence operations for China. I think we're actually elected a Chinese CCP guy.
Who knows, man? It's just all insane. All I have to see is just the total fear that corporations have to upset China in any way. And the writing's on the wall. Whether or not they have, specific politicians or not, it's really kind of irrelevant if they've got all the corporations. Mm-hmm. Because the corporations have the politicians. So even if you're going to say, well, that Biden's not a Chinese operative, it doesn't matter because the corporations own him, mm-hmm. and they all, for whatever reason, are terrified of China. So there you go.
Yep, absolutely right. It's so funny. It's almost ironic that the Republicans that got pegged for so long of being the big business party ended up having the big businesses destroy them.
Yeah.
Right?
The party of big businesses. Somehow the party of big business has not a single business on their side.
Yeah, exactly right.
Or maybe they are. Who knows? Like, this all could be just a big scam. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. I mean, it makes sense with like them being able to impeach Trump and all that stuff. I mean, oh my goodness. So what do you think about like the likelihood that we could survive just being local with all the big businesses coming after us and censoring us? Do you think we have a good shot, or is it pretty pessimistic in the short term?
No, I think it's pessimistic in the short term, but yeah, I think we have a good shot at surviving. I think that as long as we're not reliant completely on these big corps, then we'll be able to figure it out. The people that are going to have a hard time are the people that have no local network, have no ability to sort of make their own revenues and stuff like that. The people that aren't even thinking right now about, all right, well, how do I get multiple income streams so that if my job forces me to sign the LGBT love letter, that I can still survive. Like, the people that aren't even thinking about that stuff, they'll have a hard time. Mm-hmm. But that assumes that these people won't sign it. I mean, I think a lot of people just will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're talking about faithful Christians. I think faithful Christians at this point are like all taking a look at their exposures to this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you don't. I was saying this on my podcast today. It's like the conservatives are getting banned right now, but Christians and our message is far more insulting to the world than the conservative message of limited government.
Sure.
We're calling you sinners and you need to repent or you're going to hell.
Well,
so once they get around to us.
Yeah, it's a public health emergency. I mean, and this is the thing, like I keep seeing, let me just say in a nice way, very naive, but I believe well-meaning Christians that are saying, no, we don't have to worry because we're not going to be inciting violence. And it's like, but what these well-meaning but very naive people don't understand is that the left isn't going to say, okay, we're going to shut down speech we disagree with. No, they're not going to say that. They're going to say, we're going to shut down speech that has an imminent violence attached to it. And then they're going to say that when you say that LGBT is not good, that's violence. Mm-hmm. That's how they play the game. Like they know what to do. So they're going to say they're already doing this. It's very dangerous to have church. You're actually literally killing people. Then Karen Swallow Prior agrees. And so it's like, they're already setting up the play. They're not going to say we're against Christianity, so you can't go to church. No, they're going to say it's dangerous to worship. So stop worshiping until we say so.
Right. Yeah.
That's how they play the game. And so it's like, Christians, let's just face it, Matt, lots of Christians were willing to go along with it. And so I think lots of Christians are going to be willing to go along with literally anything. Mm-hmm. And so they'll sign the LGBT thing. It'll be loving your neighbor. It's gender. It's pronoun hospitality. I mean, sure, love your neighbor by going along with the delusions. Mm-hmm. But the real Christians, I think, are already planning and plotting. You know what I mean? So I think we'll be okay. It's just life is going to be harder. I think what we have to get used to is not having fancy pants and fancy stuff.
Right.
Maybe some of us will, but we got to get used to the idea that we might not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. I was at breakfast with my pastor today, and we were talking about that a little bit. I've talked to him a lot about Glenn and Sunshine, talking about the enchantment of the world.
Yeah.
And I just love that so much. It's still stuck with me.
Yeah, you love that.
But my pastor was talking about today of how Disneyland has been one big lie, and also like social media, like what we're talking about is like we've lived in this fantasy magical world that's not magical and taken us away from what really is enchantment, the value of life, the value of in-person interactions. And even though those things are probably going to be all ripped away from us, probably for good, like in a good way, like that we're going to be forced to no longer be at Disneyland. We're going to have to go into the real world. We're going to understand what it means to take a stand. We're going to understand the value of life. We're going to really rediscover what true enchantment is, even though it's going to be more difficult. And man, I left that so hopeful. I'm honest. I was a little bummed the last couple weeks, like just thinking about how hard it's going to be, specifically for my kids. Like,
I know yourself, you were, right? Yeah. You were saying that to me. You're right. But but continue, because you're on a roll here.
Just that vision or just that mindset, I guess, or that perspective that we grew up in that Disney fantasy, playing video games. There was no dangers in the world. Everything's going to work out all right, and there's no fights to have. That's how we grew up. And I found myself wanting that for my kids, but then realizing, wait a minute, that wasn't good for me either. So why am I depressed that my kids aren't going to go through that as well?
Matt, I saw something that made me sad, but it also, like you said, it kind of made me excited a little bit. And it was Les. What's Les's last name? The Reform Pub guy.
I don't know them.
Whatever.
And they wouldn't let me in.
Les whatever. And he was saying how he had to tell his daughter, who I guess is like 11 or maybe like about to be a teenager or something, about like, being a martyr. Like sometimes people kill other people just for being Christians, and that could happen to us, like that kind of thing. And you might think, oh, that's just what a drama queen, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. These people are sick. Yeah. So he was telling his 11-year-old or a daughter that's not a child, but like, a child. So anyone that's not 5 years old, like my son, is not a real child, you know what I mean? Anyway, so as far as that goes, so that made me very sad. It's like, man, that really sucks to have to tell your daughter that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then I started thinking this, like, one of the things I keep hearing about is this crisis that our children have of not having like a mission, not having like a real purpose for existence. And I think that kind of plays into what you're saying. It's like, because we kind of all live in this fantasy world where everything's going to work out, and like, that's actually not accurate. And so when you have to live that day by day with this axe hanging over your head, like at any moment, like they could just unplug my business and that's the end of that. Like it kind of gives life a little bit more, maybe excitement's the right word, but like there's a real battle out there.
I would say
there's a real battle out there, and there's real dragons out there, and we actually have to face down those dragons. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking about. And so like on the one hand, it's going to be harder, but on the other hand, there's going to be advantages to it.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah, it like makes it richer, like a richer dessert. I think like those fat-free desserts are crappy and disgusting. No one wants them when you get the really good butter and stuff, and it really just makes it more quality. And it's like we don't have to look into Disney movies about a prince going off and slaying a dragon. It's like we're going to actually have to slay dragons.
So for like Les, for example, he's got I've got sons, so I don't know how it is to have a daughter, but his daughter is going to have to find a real prince, a real man that'll actually provide for her and defend for her. It's not just some Joe on the street that gets lucky. You know what I mean? Like lucky with their income because everyone makes a good income. Lucky with their job because everyone gets a good job. It's not like that. They're going to have to actually work for it. You know what I mean? And if they have a good income, it's going to really be hard to get that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's going to be a sweet situation in that regard. My sons are going to have to grow up knowing that we got to provide for ourselves here, and we got to trust God that he'll provide for us. And we might not have the cushy job that everybody gets after college. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, on the one hand, it's harder. I don't want my kid's life to be hard, but if there's a benefit out of that, I think that there definitely is, for being able to trust God every step of the way, then I'm all for it. And I think that what we have to do is, try to set up our kids, well. Set up our kids with an inheritance, both materially and spiritually, that they can use going into the future. There's righteous men leave an inheritance to their children's children. We have to be focused so much more on that than we were yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the things that we build, I think, has shifted in just the last month, at least for me, thinking about the different income streams that I have. It's no longer just thinking about a niche in the market or thinking about addressing an unaddressed issue, but now it's how can I have a sustainable business when they come for me that it's going to survive, that I'm going to be able to provide for my family.
That's right.
It's really weird. It's like we're taking off our lens or putting a new lens on and having to see the world differently for what it's been for most of life. It's very strange to me. It's like, it almost feels like that time where you go into high school from junior high and it's like completely different. You're with kids that are a bit 3 years older than you, and they're huge and they're just completely more mature. And it's completely different from elementary school or junior high. Yeah. And it's kind of like we're going into the real world, quote unquote.
Yep. Even though I know we're graduating, right? Yeah. We're graduating. No, it's so true. And honestly, you're right. It's so weird. Like, you can't just think of normal stuff like supply and demand. Like even when you're looking at like stock picks and stuff, like we're having to like consider like, okay, so are these guys going to be involved in this nonsense too? Is their stock going to crash because they banned Trump? Like that's a weird event to account for when you're trying to consider a company's like value. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's all kinds of weird stuff you have to take into account now that are just weird. It's just not normal. So, or maybe it is normal. We just never had to think about it. I don't know.
That's what I think. That's what I think it is we're leaving Disneyland and coming back to the real world.
It's a good. Your pastor came up with that. That's good.
Yeah, I know. It's really good.
It's good, man.
He's like, man, I need to tithe more now.
You're worthy of double honor.
Yeah, it's a double portion for you, sir.
Here's something. Mark Garnett says this, and I want to kick this around a little bit.
Okay.
Mark Garnett asks the question: does it seem that critical race theory Christians or woke Christians are more open to censorship, or am I crazy? What do you think about that?
As far as censoring other people,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's kind of that's been their MO, right? I mean,
you're not crazy at all.
No.
I think there's two reasons for this. Number one, it fits their ideology perfectly. They're in lockstep with the totalitarian fascist ideology. That's just what they are. In fact, they even write articles about it. There was one article recently about how Gospel Coalition gatekeepers are good. Gatekeeping is good. Like we need to have people that'll tell us what's right and what's acceptable, what's allowable and what's not. Like we need to have those guys. We need a discernment blog like Gospel Coalition. So they say it openly, but even more so, I think this is more important, Mark, that they know, well, they think they know that the censors won't come for them because they're on their side. They think that they're going to capitulate every step of the way. So they don't think the censors will come for them, but they will, because as long as they're going to be a Christian, eventually the censors will come for them. So if maybe they just assume they're going to capitulate all the way to the end, they'll deny Christ. But I think a lot of these guys think nothing I say is ever good, because I think they know that they just cave. When someone doesn't like your patriarchy, well, I'm not a patriarchy anymore. If someone doesn't like your complementarian, well, I'm a soft complementarian. Someone doesn't like your soft well, I think women should preach. Like they cave all the time. So I guess they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's totally right. I think they will. I mean, there's no reason to think that they won't. So, and the thing I think we need to remember too is we've been really good at nailing the social justice stuff and tying it to a type of Marxism, a social Marxism, a cultural Marxism. And we've been taking it and pulling it and saying, look, this is where it came from. But then we need to roll it back and say, yeah, it's the same father. It's the same family as the political class and the people that are using the oppressed to gain power. So why would we be surprised when they want to censor and act and do and have the same remedy as the people in politics? It's the same family.
Totally the same family. And honestly, like you can tell that someone like Jamar Tisby is just full of it, because smart black people, because there are plenty of smart black people. Jamar just doesn't happen to be one of them. But smart black people know that this whole thing about censoring Trump, like, they could just use that on anybody, including us, which is what they're likely to do. Because like there's actually some woke people that are somewhat consistent. There's this one guy that I follow. His name is Boyce Watkins. He's totally woke, but he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's not a whiner, and he's not a victim. And he says, guys, this is stupid because they're going to use this to shut us up soon. Mm-hmm. And it's true. Anyone that has anything of value to say, eventually they're going to get shut up this way. He's right. Jamar can't think that way. He's a child. He can't think two steps ahead. So he's like, this is good. The white supremacists. The white supremacists are in control of the government, but somehow they want this to happen too. They want to silence other white supremacists, and they want to, but they're still white supremacists, but they're good white supremacists. So Jamar's okay with it. It makes no sense. It's totally incoherent.
Do you think that the Black Lives Matter, the systemic oppression crowd, and all them, I don't know if it's just woke, because I feel like it's broader than that.
It's totally broader, yeah.
Is it going to change in tone or severity with a complete control of the Democrats now?
I think that they are. I think that they're going to be like the AOC branch of the Democrats, where they're constantly trying to pull them further and further. So I don't think so. I think it'll stay pretty much the same. I think that they'll be just as aggressive. I think that they'll be just as, wacky. Maybe a little drunk with power because they'll be able to like get meetings with higher up people where they wouldn't in the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be basically the same.
Do you think they'll destroy the Democrat Party finally?
I don't know.
They just might go full.
Can anything destroy the Democrat Party? I don't know. I mean, they seem to be on a winning streak here.
That is true. That is true. You have to give it to them. They've done more in the 2 weeks that Joe Biden's been officially the president-elect than the GOP's done in the last 2 years. They haven't even got power yet, and they're already passing a $1.9 trillion deal. They've already are on the hunt to take out like 4 GOP members in Congress. It's like, what has the GOP been doing? They don't do anything. It's hilarious.
They don't do anything.
No, it's hilarious in a very, very sad way.
They're just beaten. A lot of these men are just beaten, and you can see it. Do you remember, Matt, when Russell Moore came out of his hole and he said something about how churches should have the same rules as casinos and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we kind of made the point where it's like, well, the thing about that is if you win, you still lose because they'll just lock down the casinos and you're still losing.
Yeah, it's a losing argument from the beginning.
It's a losing argument. Well, there's a representative that people seem to really like. His name is Jim Jordan. I don't know anything about him, so I'm not saying anything about the man. Uh-huh. What I am saying is about this comment where he said, the left won't let you go to church. They won't let you go to work. They won't let you do this. And see, that person, in my opinion, is so beaten that he doesn't understand that's a losing argument. It's not about letting you. So even if the Republicans were to win that fight, right?
Yeah.
You still lose because you're saying that we have to win these fights politically in order to have those freedoms. We don't. We just have them. The left doesn't want you to go to church, but they don't give you or let you, or you don't ask the left permission for that. Mm-hmm. You just go.
Yep.
The left doesn't want you to work, but they don't let you do anything. No, you don't let me. I do what I want to do in these cases. You don't have authority in that way. So, right. Maybe Jim Jordan's a good man, but how he's framed that shows that he's beaten down
right.
ideologically. It's not a victory to win those rights back.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not victory. You just have to acknowledge that you have them.
Right.
Let the left do what they need to do, but we're going to church on Sunday. You know what I mean?
And you dictator don't have any say over if it's right or
none.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to be excited when the dictator grants me the right to go to a church.
Right.
No, I'm not even going to recognize your authority.
I'm glad Jim Jordan would let us go to church, but even Jim, if you're the greatest guy in the world, like, you don't let me do anything. I do what I have to do. Mm-hmm. If you got to fight for it in court, that's fine. You do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do.
Yeah, absolutely right. And he is actually a pretty good senator.
Yeah,
he is one of those that I actually trust, like one of the 3.
Sure,
he's there for a while, but and I think it just continues.
3. That's sad news, man.
I know, man.
3.
I don't even know if I can do 3. Ted Cruz, he's a senator. Matt Gaetz. Okay, I'm gonna say what represents Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes. Yes. Okay, those are the 3 that I trust.
That's sad, man.
It's terrible. But I think that's just part of what God's been doing, destroying any hope of institutions to save us besides him.
That's right.
Even the good guys, the guys that we have that we can rely on that at least understand somewhat of what we're fighting for, they don't even get it. And it really reminds me of some of the times in the Old Testament where, like, there were kings or judges. They did good things, but they just weren't all there.
Right.
And it's just a continuation of God's judging us, that we don't have anyone that's a solid leader to rally.
You're so right. It's like, because in the judges and the kings, you see all the the good reforms they made, but then it'll say, but they left the high places. They did this, they did that. And it's like, man, why didn't you just get rid of the high places too? It's just like right there. It's a big idol, like why didn't you do that too? And and again, the Bible presents them in a positive light. It doesn't say that they're just evil, wicked monsters, but it acknowledges they just didn't go all the way. You know what I mean? They didn't go all the way, and it's apparent that it affects the future of Israel. Mm-hmm. And so Jim Jordan and some people were. I was going to do a video to respond to this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it on here. But perfect. Jordan, I'm glad that he's fighting for the freedoms in the institutions. That's great, because we got to do that too. But what we really need is a leader to just acknowledge is, look, we're going to fight for this against these pagan monsters, but by no means do your rights come from this fight. You just have them. You can do them. But we're just going to fight so that they don't think they can punish you for exercising these rights. Mm-hmm. That's what we need to fight. We need to fight the left when they think that they have the ability to punish us for this. Yeah. But we don't. It's not that they don't let us. We do it. We do what we got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we don't get that, or I shouldn't say we. Our leaders don't get that because they don't allow themselves, or they don't think to bring the Bible into the discussion at all. Yeah. And if you cannot bring in "Thus saith the Lord," then you're not going to have that logical argument. It's only going to be, they need to let us do this, because what ground are you standing on? Yep. And we've bought the lie that there's things you can't talk about in the public square. You can't talk about religion. You can't bring it into government. But that's the only thing that can save the government that we live in, is that we return to "Thus saith the Lord."
I think most people that like say you can't go to church, it's too dangerous, I think they're full of it, and there's no way that they would ever send you to jail. But let's just say they did one day send, like, let's say they threatened MacArthur, right? And he didn't care, and they didn't. So he called their bluff, and they were the ones that were flinching. But let's just say they did put MacArthur in jail, right? Which is not out of the realm of possibility. I think most of them are just cowards. They won't. But if they did, that would be a big mistake, in my opinion. I think they know it. That's why they won't do it. Yeah. Because the first martyr that gets martyred for the faith, and I mean martyred in like the not necessarily killed sense, but punished severely for going to church, I think that'll wake too many people up. I don't think real Christians are that asleep. Maybe they are, though. Reformed pub, the liberals probably are, but
Yeah, and I honestly would not be surprised if they try it this year. Again, I don't think the left has any breaks. I don't think they have any mechanism to slow down. And now that they have achieved the coup, they've overthrown the president, they have all three houses, or they have all three branches of government now. Why not?
It'll be localities. It'll be that'll try it. It'll be like the city of San Francisco, or like the city of whatever that'll try it. And but yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. These people are sick. They're crazy. Yeah. But I think my point, though, is that I have to believe, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I'm being naive, but I have to believe that real Christians would not just sit on their hands with that situation.
I hope.
I don't know. Woke Christians wouldn't care, though. They'd be all over it. They'd love it.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, Michael Moore is going to applaud it. Listening to Johnny Cash in the background. Or
Michael Moore.
Not Michael Moore. Russell Moore. Sorry, same thing.
Might as well be Michael Moore.
Yeah. It's just two Russell Moores equal to Michael Moore in size. I was trying to read Michael's comment. That's why I conflated the two. He said just two branches. No, I said it right. They have all three branches of government. They have the judicial branches as well.
I agree.
The Supreme Court has continually let us down. And, I said this going back to this whole church thing. Is like, I wish that pastors would have got as upset with the churches being closed down, with the government coming into the churches, as the government is of people coming into their temple. And I was playing off of Nancy Pelosi calling it a temple. And that's, I still like, if we would have pastors that would have been that furious as politicians were about what happened on January 6th, we would be in a whole different country, I believe. But what's funny is right now, there's 12,000 National Guard people sleeping in the halls together, not social distancing. But you're still listening to the government not letting people come to church with you?
Well, they all got the vax, though. You know what I mean? They all got the vax. They had to.
Yeah. No, but honestly, I don't think they did. And how can you, in good conscience, pastor? I don't think a majority of the churches in this country have 12,000 people. But you're going to let the government let 12,000 guards sleep together and hang out together without masks, without the vaccine for the most part, but you won't have church service anymore? Like, can you look like even any bigger of a fool at this point if you don't open church?
Man, I'll tell you what, we've talked about this for weeks, but it's well beyond the point of any legitimate reason to keep church closed. You're just doing it to the detriment of your flock. it's hatred, it's evil, it's derelict of duty, it's obviously being a poor shepherd. At this point, there is no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But people will say, "You love your neighbor." All right, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there was one person that would stand up to persecution and not cave that is part of a church that's closed down. Like, if you had to find the people that you would think would stand up, and honestly, I was even talking about this earlier today with somebody where I don't even know if I would. I could be a coward. I feel like I have a coward in me that I have to crucify every day. Quite honestly, like sometimes I rise to the occasion. Sometimes I've cowered away in the past. But do you really think if you're not going to church right now that you're going to stand up for persecution and not cave?
There's no reason to think that.
There's no reason to think that.
There's no reason to think at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was listening to this one guy, and he was a military guy, training guy, and he said every little decision you do adds up to the bigger decisions of what you're going to face in the future. And it's like, it's not just big decisions you make once in a while that determine who you are, but it's every little decision. And you need to think really long and hard about what stands you're going to make. If you have been cowering and just going along with the status quo, it's time to start changing those little decisions to start preparing yourself for what's ahead.
It's good stuff, man. That's a terrifying reality, that it's a terrifying reality because I'm with you, Matt. Like every day, it's like I'm not like winning every battle here. You know what I mean? And I'm ashamed of some of the stuff that I did during COVID. No question about it. But today's a good day to stop. Today's a good day to start actually doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just the importance too of being able to diversify, not just income, but being able to have a group of people that you can turn to, that you don't have to be dependent on one place if they turn you away or whatever it is, if they put you on a no-fly list or whatever they're doing today. I mean, it seems like there's a whole new way to be shunned and treated like you're not part of society anymore. It's really weird.
It is really weird. They got the plans for the vaccine passport and stuff like that, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's just like, I mean, I guess, if that's how it's going to be, I guess I'm not going to fly. I mean, what do you want from me? I'm not going to do it. It's just all there is to it. I'm not going to be bullied into it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
People survive without planes for a long time, and I can survive without a plane too.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be up in South Carolina, North Carolina. I can't remember, next month. I'm driving because I'm just not going to be doing any of that stuff.
You're not dealing with it. Not dealing with it. I like it.
And I'll be fine. I will survive.
I will survive. What else you got, man?
I don't know, man. It's just crazy stuff. Let's see. There's no fly list now. The governor of New Jersey. Did have you been following the story of it's a gym. It's probably like a CrossFit gym, I think. They were refusing to shut down and mandate masks, and they were getting fined like $10,000 a day.
Yeah, I heard about it. I've been following it though.
So the last thing they've done, or the most recent thing the governor's done, is he went in and he took all their assets from them, $140,000 out of their bank account. And like, you think that's horrifying.
My goodness gracious.
But then you realize again, they don't have any breaks. And so why is that to think that they're not going to do that to us? And that's a whole nother thing that you got to start thinking about. Speaking of leaving Disneyland, is what do you do with your money in banks? Because even JP Morgan, Chase, they were saying something about how they're going to start like rejecting and not providing their services to people.
Sure. I mean, it's insane. It's insane that we have to think about this stuff. I mean, we have to start thinking about alternatives. You know what I mean? And some people are saying, oh, it's the Bitcoin. They can come after the Bitcoin too. In fact, they're already planning on it. You know what I mean? They're already planning on doing that as well. So it's like we got to figure it out. And it sucks that we have to figure it out. I spent way too much time this week migrating stuff over to Proton Mail. And that's time out of production. That's time where I should be, trying to get deals and stuff like that. And so it sucks that I have to do it. It seems like a waste of time for me, but I have to do it because otherwise, like in a moment's notice, Gmail could say, "Oh my goodness, you're AD. Click off my business," and I lost all my data. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what am I going to do? Take Google to court? I suppose I could, but like, you know what I mean? Like, so again, faithful Christians, I think, don't need this reminder. But just in case, if you're not thinking of alternatives for just about everything that you do to survive, start right now, man. You got to start thinking about this kind of stuff. You got to start writing stuff down analog style. You got to start keeping files, like normal people used to do in the 70s. You know what I mean? Like
Rolodexes.
We need to bring back Rolodexes and pagers. You know what I mean? Maybe not pages. But no, but along those lines, thinking about what happens if someday I go dark. If you're not using a VPN, maybe it's a time to start using a VPN. Small steps. That's a small thing you can do. It's not going to save you, but it might save you. It might buy you some time.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I see someone in there is talking about being local in your small town. Go to a bank that's a local community bank. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not going to save you. It's not it's not the savior because they can figure that stuff out too. But it'll buy you time. You know what I mean? Like right now, I've got two business accounts. One is with a major company that'll definitely turn on me. and one is with a local bank. And so the reason I did that is just to see how it was for both. And yeah, the big bank has a lot of conveniences, but I know for a fact that if I get found out, they will turn on me like that if it's advantageous to them, politically speaking. And so I gotta remove it and gotta go to the local bank. I just have to do it. And it's annoying. That's going to take a few hours because the local banks, you got to actually go to open the account. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it sucks. It's going to be a few hours out of production, but you got to do it.
Yep. And what we're describing now, again, is another part of the judgment of not obeying God's word. Because what we're talking about here is inefficiencies. We are going to have to become more inefficient because the government, the society is rejecting God's people, and we're not able to contribute to society like we were before, utilizing technology. And so this is a perfect example of how you regress when you reject God's law. That's what we're talking about here in real practical ways.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to find out what it means to be shrewd. You know what I mean? We're going to find out. I think we were talking about this on this show last week, but Christians are going to have to get used to dealing in situations and shady black market situations where we're not used to dealing with. And I get it. I mean, you don't want to have to do that, but you're going to have to start at least opening those channels, right? Like I remember, I'll never forget the first time I moved to Vermont, the first Sunday I was at Vermont, or it was the next Monday. So I went to church and I was interning at this church. And then the next Monday I was with the pastor. We were doing some home visits and stuff. And this old lady, this sweet old lady, she came up to us and she said, "Hey guys, you want to buy some black market sausage?" And she was totally serious. Like basically all it was sausage that she had made on her farm that she wasn't going to go through the government channels because Vermont has ridiculous laws about stuff, and so she was serious. But like, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking of like shady dark alleys. I'm thinking of like regular people that don't want to go through the government's hoopla and I'll just sell you some sausage. You know what I mean? Straight up.
Right.
They don't need the vax passport that you're going to need to go to the grocery store. You know what I mean? They don't care.
Oh my God.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. Christians do this kind of stuff, I think, already. And we're going to have to get more comfortable with that.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's definitely what we're going to have to be doing and be thinking about it now while you can. You don't want to get parlored, which is my new adjective that I'm going to start calling. You don't want to get parlored.
Parlored, man. That's so ridiculous, man. These guys, I wonder how these conversations happen. Like, who's making these calls? Like, it's probably not Jack Dorsey, or maybe it is. Like, Jack, you got to call Bezos. We got to call Bezos and get this going. And Bezos is on the phone. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And they get them all. How does this go down? I would love to see how this goes down. We got to get Project Veritas on this. Like, I want to see the call between Jack and Bezos and what that's all about.
Oh my gosh. Did you see the video that Project Veritas put out just a little bit ago about Jack Dorsey?
So I didn't see it, but I saw that they had put it out.
The video itself isn't like, he admits that he's censoring conservatives. Like, we all knew that. It wasn't really breaking. But the video that they were like totally throwing shade on Jack about, they had like this whole scene where they played it out. Oh, so somebody called in and have Jack Dorsey on video, you say? Where did they get it from? It was hilarious. It was hilarious how they were just making fun of him. It was better than the video.
What's so good about that is that if Jack Dorsey watched it, he's probably had so many shady conversations that it probably put the fear of God in him for at least a few minutes.
Yes.
Like, and so, like, because like, so on these Zoom calls that we're all doing these days, I'll be talking to someone, and then someone also pop on, and they'll say, "What were you saying about me?" And you have that moment of panic, like, was I saying anything about him? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you got that you get those cold sweats. I wonder if Jack saw that. I wonder if he had something like that, where he's like, which conversation was it?
Right. How bad is it? Now he's wondering how many more videos does he have?
Good.
Yeah. What's his name? Sutherland? I don't know what his name. Project Veritas. Usually they have series.
Yeah.
But you know how Parler found out that Amazon was going to turn their service off?
No.
Through BuzzFeed. Amazon leaked that they were going to shut them down in 24 hours before they even told Parler.
Yeah, that's so crazy, man. It's so crazy.
That's
what I'm
we're
saying.
Be dealing with.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. No, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, this is the time. You think you've got time, you might not. So the time to plan is right now. If you've got a small business and you're using Google Suite, G Suite, whatever, make some plans to get off G Suite. It's going to be annoying. I promise you, it'll be annoying.
Yeah,
I've done it. It's annoying.
Yeah, and
you got to do it.
I'm hearing language seriously of Nazis. And that's what scares me the most about this.
Yeah.
Is the same language. I read a tweet this morning on my show where it says we can't have conservatives. And now I know conservatives and Christians are not synonymous, but I consider conservatives far less offensive to the world than Christians. At least I hope so. I'm not talking about the Russell Moore Christians. I'm talking about the Christians that actually believe the gospel. Not that he may believe the gospel, but I mean someone who actually lives it out. And he was saying that conservatives can't be teachers. They can't be anything but the most lowly positions until they get some sense and join humanity again. That is the language they're starting to use of people like us, that we're not even part of humanity. And they're calling us traitors. We're the ones committing sedition. We're the ones conducting violence. They're deplatforming us. They're taking away our livelihoods. They're doing all these things. That's exactly how it started with the Nazis. And
same thing with Muslims is the same thing with everything. They do like the radical Muslims do the same thing. You know, Christians are the lowest rung of society. They'll let you be there, but like, you know, you're the last, you know, you pay the jizya, you're the last rung of society.
Yep, absolutely right. And we say like, oh, it's not going to get that bad. But just think of how bad it's gotten in the last month.
Think about this. You don't think it's going to get that bad? Okay, I don't know if it's going to get that bad, but think about this. People who are saying these things aren't being laughed out of the room.
Nope.
You know what you see what I'm saying?
Or
like,
deplatformed.
They're not being laughed out of the room. So it's like,
right.
Obviously, they've got an audience for this kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of sickos out there that would love nothing more than for me to not be able to feed my family. They would love that.
They would.
And I get it. And I'm okay with it. I understand that a lot of people hate me. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I have to take that mindset into consideration when I engage in the world. I don't want anyone to not be able to feed their family, but I know people feel that way about me. That's okay. But I can't pretend like that's not real. If you're a Christian and you're pretending like that's not real, you're a fool.
Yep.
You're a fool.
And we know we got a lot of those out there. Super chat. Thank you. Thank you very much for supporting us. Hey guys, do either of you have Samaritan for healthcare? And if so, do you supplement it with any other coverage? I have them as a sponsor on my How to Build a Tent.
I do have them. I do use Samaritan. So I don't know, you didn't ask this, but I'm going to give you my experience. I think it's great. Samaritan is great. I've had 3 children with Samaritan. And it's always the coverage has always gone off without a hitch. People send you checks in the mail and covers the expenses and all that kind of stuff. The cool part about it is that oftentimes the expenses are way less than they would have been with insurance because, you know, hospitals will give you discounts for paying cash. And also, depending on what state you live in, you could be in a poverty bracket, even if you're not in poverty. Like in Vermont, you could have really good income, above average income. And because you're a cash customer, they consider you for like 80% or even 100% discounts because for cash customers, they consider you poor. You know what I mean? Like if you're a cash customer and you're not a millionaire, essentially in Vermont's eyes, you're poor. You know what I mean? So like there was one birth that we didn't have. They didn't charge us for anything. Like the hospital didn't charge us for the birth.
Wow.
It was insane. So we've had 2 births. Twice we had to pay. One time we didn't. And it's been great. Also, I've had issues like someone didn't send a check on time or one of my checks got lost in the mail, and Samaritans fixes it really nice, great customer service and all that kind of stuff. I really like it. I do not supplement it with any other coverage. This is all we use for healthcare. We pay out of pocket and we use Samaritan, and it's great.
Yeah, for the prices I've seen, it seems really reasonable when you compare it to other forms of insurance. And especially when we're talking about having to go kind of black market style, this is a great option for self-employed people and things like that. Yeah,
it is. The only thing I will say is that it would probably be hard for people who had like severe pre-existing conditions, because they won't publish those needs to the group. I say coverage, but it's not coverage. They just publish your needs to the group, and they won't do it if it's a pre-existing condition. So if you have something that's really expensive that's pre-existing, probably not a viable option. I think there are some health shares that will still publish and share those needs.
Really?
But I don't think Samaritan does. Or I know Samaritan doesn't, but I think there are some that do. So you could check them out.
Interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, I think that's a good alternative to healthcare when they say that we're a health risk because we won't take the vaccine, and then they kick us off their policies.
And you should be aware though that I don't have to pay the penalty, the Obamacare penalty for not having insurance, because they were able to negotiate into the deal people that participate in these things to not pay that. That'll probably go away though with Biden. So
I know.
And I'll still keep it. I'll pay the penalty if I have to, but just be aware of that. Like that might be a problem in the future. They don't want people to pay for each other's bills. I mean, that's insane. No. What kind of a hateful Christian are you?
Dude, it has to go through us. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Oh, there's a lot of good discussions going on in the comments. I appreciate it. That's going to boost our YouTube channel.
I appreciate it as well. Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. I don't know what else. I think that's a good spot to stop for the time. Thank you everyone for joining us live. Appreciate that. You can again join us Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Let's keep going. I want to read this comment before you finish.
Okay. You can support us on patreon.com/reformgelical, or you can do super chats. We really appreciate everyone who supports us and helps us pay for us being able to come to you guys. Please share the show, become a subscriber, all that good stuff. And our podcast comes out Friday. Comment
of the day. Uncanadian says this: the fact that this show is still up makes me suspicious of you both. What's next? A blue check mark? Name change to Big Reformgelical? I understand, man. I understand, Uncanadian.
No, I'm starting to get self-conscious.
I'm suspicious of myself and Matt.
I'm like, God, try me. It's so anyway. And why? I'm not suspended.
God, I need to be more faithful, I guess. Yes. I don't know. Good comment, man.
Well done. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. God bless.
God bless.